Ah, ancient Egypt, a land of pharaohs, pyramids, and enough gold to make even a Roman emperor blush. It's a civilization that continues to fascinate us even after all these millennia. We've all seen the documentaries, marveled at the monuments, and maybe even attempted to decipher hieroglyphics after a pint or two. But how much do we really know about the rise and fall of this ancient superpower? This isn't your typical history lesson, full of dates and dynasties that would make your head spin faster than a scarab beetle in the desert. No, we're going deeper, dear reader. We're going to uncover the untold stories, the hidden quirks, and the surprising truths about ancient Egypt. We'll explore the grandeur, the drama, and yes, even the humor of a civilization that, let's be honest, had a flair for the dramatic. So, buckle up, grab your metaphorical trowel, and get ready to delve into the sands of time. We're off on an adventure to uncover the secrets of ancient Egypt, one hieroglyph at a time. Our story begins with unification. Imagine two kingdoms, Upper and Lower Egypt, existing separately, one rugged and wild, the other fertile and prosperous. Then comes Menes, who merges the two. Around 3100 BC, ancient Egypt was born. They established pharaohs, living gods. These pharaohs built colossal monuments. Power struggles and rebellions ensued, but ancient Egypt endured, growing like a papyrus plant. Now let's move beyond the stereotypical image of ancient Egypt, shall we? Yes, the pyramids were impressive, but they weren't the only things these clever clogs were up to. Did you know, for instance, that the Egyptians were avid board game enthusiasts? They had a game called Senet, which was so popular it was even played in the afterlife. One can't help but imagine a pharaoh challenging Osiris to a quick game after a hard day's judging souls. And speaking of the afterlife, the Egyptians were absolutely obsessed with it. They believed in mummifying their dead and burying them with all sorts of goodies for the journey to the underworld. You'd have thought they were packing for a fortnight in the Canary Islands, not an eternity in the afterlife. Fast forward a few centuries and we reach what many consider to be the pinnacle of ancient Egyptian civilization, the New Kingdom. This was the era of legendary pharaohs like Akhenaten, who decided, rather eccentrically, that Egypt should worship only one god, the sun god Aten. Talk about shaking things up. Then there was Tutankhamun, better known as King Tut, who became famous for, well, having a really cool tomb full of treasure. And let's not forget the formidable Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's few female pharaohs who ruled with an iron fist and a fabulous collection of ceremonial false beards. This was a time of unparalleled wealth, power, and cultural achievement. The Egyptians were building magnificent temples, creating stunning works of art, and expanding their empire through military conquest. They were the envy of the ancient world, a bit like the Roman Empire before the whole togas and gladiator thing took off. Section 5. Cracks in the foundation, seeds of doubt. But as with all good things, the golden age of ancient Egypt couldn't last forever. Cracks began to appear in the once impregnable facade. Internal strife, economic woes, and pesky foreign invaders all played their part in weakening the kingdom. One of the first signs of trouble came in the form of religious upheaval. Akhenaten's whole one-god thing, while innovative, didn't go down too well with the priests of the other gods who, understandably, felt a bit miffed. After his death, there was a whole lot of theological backpedaling, with Egypt eventually returning to its polytheistic ways. Then there were the pesky Hittites, a powerful empire from Anatolia, who fancied a bit of Egyptian territory for themselves. They clashed with the Egyptians at the Battle of Kadesh, one of the largest chariot battles in history. While the outcome was a bit of a draw, it highlighted the growing vulnerability of the once mighty Egyptian empire. Section 6. The Slow Fade, a Kingdom in Decline. Over the next few centuries, ancient Egypt went through a series of ups and downs, a bit like a roller coaster ride that was slowly running out of steam. There were periods of resurgence, but the overall trend was one of decline. The once unified kingdom fragmented, with rival rulers vying for power. The economy, once fueled by the Nile's bounty and the spoils of war, began to sputter. Inflation soared, taxes rose, and the common people, who had always been the backbone of the kingdom, began to feel the pinch. Imagine having to pay double for your papyrus and beer. Not ideal, really. Foreign powers, sensing weakness, began to circle like vultures around well, you get the picture. The Libyans, the Nubians, the Assyrians, they all took turns taking bites out of the once mighty Egyptian empire. It was all a bit tragic, really, like watching a once great athlete past their prime. Section 7, Whispers in the Sand Legacy of the Pharaohs. By the first millennium BC, ancient Egypt was a shadow of its former self. It had been conquered by the Persians, then the Greeks under Alexander the Great, and finally in 30 BC, it became a province of the Roman Empire. The age of the pharaohs was over, but even though their political power had waned, the legacy of the ancient Egyptians lived on. Their monuments continued to inspire awe and wonder. Their art influenced countless cultures, and their system of writing, hieroglyphics, remained a tantalizing enigma for centuries. The Egyptians may have been masters of mummification, but they also knew a thing or two about leaving a lasting impression. Their story, with all its triumphs and tragedies, its innovations and idiosyncrasies, continues to captivate us today. Section 8, the Ptolemaic period, a Greek finale. Enter the Greeks, stage left, with Alexander the Great leading the charge. After conquering Egypt in 332 BC, Alexander embraced Egyptian customs and made offerings to their gods. After Alexander's death, Egypt fell under Ptolemy I Soter, one of his generals. Thus began the Ptolemaic dynasty, nearly 300 years of Greek pharaohs. It was a time of cultural fusion, blending Greek and Egyptian traditions. The Library of Alexandria became the greatest center of learning, attracting scholars from far and wide. Section 9, the final curtain, Egypt's Roman encore. Alas, all good things must come to an end, even Greek-ruled Egypt. In 30 BC, after a rather dramatic showdown involving Cleopatra VII, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom, Mark Antony, and a certain Roman emperor named Octavian, Egypt fell under Roman rule. The Romans, ever practical, saw Egypt as the breadbasket of their empire, a source of grain and gold. They weren't particularly interested in Egyptian culture or traditions, but they did appreciate the efficiency of the Egyptian bureaucracy and tax collection system. Who needs togas and gladiatorial combat when you have a well-organized tax system, eh? Under Roman rule, Egypt enjoyed a period of relative peace and prosperity, but it was a far cry from the glory days of the pharaohs. The land of the pyramids had become just another province in a vast empire, its once mighty rulers now nothing more than a footnote in history, or so it seemed. Section 10, Unearthing the Past Modern Discoveries. Fast forward a few centuries and we arrive at the 19th century, a time when intrepid explorers and archaeologists, armed with shovels, pith helmets, and an unquenchable thirst for discovery, descended upon Egypt. They unearthed ancient tombs, deciphered hieroglyphics, and pieced together the forgotten stories of this ancient civilization. One of the most sensational discoveries was, of course, the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1922 by Howard Carter. The world held its breath as Carter peered into the tomb's inner chambers, famously uttering, "Yes, wonderful things." And wonderful they were indeed, a treasure trove of gold, jewels, and artifacts that provided an unprecedented glimpse into the life and times of a boy king. But it wasn't just about the bling. Archaeologists also uncovered countless other treasures: temples, statues, papyri, and everyday objects that shed light on the lives of ordinary Egyptians. They learned about their beliefs, their customs, their hopes, and their dreams. Section 11, Conclusion, Lessons from the Sands of Time. So there you have it, the rise and fall of ancient Egypt, a tale of ambition, innovation, resilience, and ultimately the ebb and flow of time. It's a story that reminds us that even the greatest civilizations are not immune to the forces of change. From the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt to the reign of the pharaohs, from the golden age of the New Kingdom to the decline and eventual conquest by foreign powers, the story of ancient Egypt is a testament to the ingenuity and adaptability of the human spirit. As we stand in awe of the pyramids and marvel at the treasures unearthed from the sands of time, let us not forget the lessons of ancient Egypt, the importance of unity, the power of innovation, and the inevitability of change. For in the end, we are all but travelers in time, leaving our own mark on the sands of history.